12. We're going to finish up today and next week in Ecclesiastes and get through with the book. I got to tell you, this is a deep, deep, deep book. I mean, I tell you, there's so much to it. I'm going to read the first two verses. I think we'll probably get through, I'm going to try to get through 7 today because there's a couple of verses that are tied together. We did talk a little bit last week about verse number 1, but I want to include it today as well. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. Now remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. I'm going to stop reading there and get into this. Solomon, in the next second, third, fourth, and fifth verse, we're going to see a lot of metaphors used where he takes something known and he ties it to a point that he's trying to make. And we see that in verse number 2. There is a progression, or I should say a regression, from the sun to the moon to the stars in terms of diminishing of light. Imagine you're on earth, and what is Ecclesiastes about? It's about life under the sun. That's what it's about. And he's given a perspective, a diminishing light, the sun, and then a lesser light, the moon, and then even less light, the stars. He's going someplace with this. He's really beginning to describe the infirmities of old age. And I got to tell you, I know all about that. I know all about the infirmities that come with it. I thought about it a lot this week as I was reading and studying this, the problems that come with growing old. Walking up the steps, oh, my legs are hurting. And he uses a bunch of metaphors to describe that. We're going to dive deeper into that in just a minute. But he does it with a purpose. There's a reason he's doing that, talking about us old people, Eugene. He's trying to get the young people to say, listen up. There's a day coming when the physical attributes that you enjoy now, you're not going to have anymore. You need to be prepared to serve your Creator. Remember your Creator in your youth. Do all that you can for your Creator now, because there's coming a day when you can't do all that you wish that you could do. He is really trying to encourage Keturah and Alexia and Autumn and Jacqueline and Spencer to do all that you can do for God now. Because there's some things I wish that I could do today. I can't. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Old age is going to come soon. Use your vitality and your strength for God now. Do it today while you have those abilities. I think old age is this, and the terms that I'll use here sound odd together, but if you think about it, it really describes what Solomon is doing. In old age, you minimize the maximum that you can do for Him. Let me say that again. You minimize the maximum in old age that you can do for Him. Here's an example. I would love to go to the Congo with Brother Mike. I would love to do that. But my physical limitations stop me from being able to do that. To go on those 20-mile drives or hikes or whatever, I can't do that. I no longer have the brilliance of the sun in my life. I actually have the light of the moon in my life, like he talks about in verse 2. I no longer live a life where there's the brightness of the sun shining on me and there's so much opportunity, and I can do almost anything for Him, almost anything physically. Again, we're talking about life under the sun. He's talking about the physical things that we do, not necessarily spiritual, but the physical. I am hindered by not having the sun as the view of where my life resides. Probably today, it resides in the moon phase of verse number 2. But one day, I'm going to have a continual degradation of light and physical prowess, and I would only be a hindrance to Mike in the Congo. I hate that. I wish that weren't the case. Young folks, use the power that God has given you, the youth and vitality that you have, that He's given you, to do all that you can for Him. Do everything that you can for Him. That's why in verse number 1 he says, remember thy Creator in thy youth. He wants you to remember all that He's done and be physically energetic and doing and being busy for Him. The light of our eyes. I love the metaphors that he uses, the analogous examples that he gives throughout Ecclesiastes. I think about the light of my eyes as an old man, and it's dimmed. I think about the cheeks and the skin, and they're wrinkled. Solomon is talking about the degradation of our physical attributes and our inability to do all that we should or could do for Him. I think about that ultimately the paleness of the skin and the wrinkles of life succeed in taking care of this body. I think about when my dad passed away. He died in our house. We were taking care of him. And I remember 2 days before he passed away, there was a distinct change in his skin. I'm sure, Kim, you've seen that in the industry that you're in. I couldn't believe it. It was a distinct paleness that came about him. That's the ultimate end for every one of us in this physical life. I ask you, what are you doing for God now in your youth? Are you remembering your Creator? Are you remembering? We're going to hear it next week when we finish Ecclesiastes. Are you remembering your ultimate duty in life? Solomon has spent the entire 12 chapters trying to figure out, what is life about? I've tried this. I've tried building things. I've pursued money for relationships. But ultimately, he comes to the conclusion at the end, and this is where we're building up to for next week. There is something that we all have a responsibility to do in the eyes of God. And in your youth, remember that. Make sure you grab it. You grab it in your youth and you hang on. The many adversaries and the calamities of life often are mentioned in the scriptures with the sun, moon, and stars. And for time's sake, I'm not going to dive into that. Luke, happy birthday. I was just telling Linda, we have a lot of birthdays this week. We have you today. We have Joy tomorrow. We have Kim on Tuesday. And there was somebody else. Who? Yeah, it was just like one right after the other thing. Wow, this is a busy thing. But anyway, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, he is just using different metaphors. That's my southern twang coming out. Metaphors to describe life as it diminishes. You know, it doesn't take a lot for us to understand that life physically diminishes for us. Do you know that? I was thinking the other day as a young kid, how old are you, Bill? 22. Oh, 22. Man, I was full of energy. I could get out and run all day. I would work all day. I'd come home and play basketball all evening. I mean, I was full of energy. Now I work all day, and about noon, I got to go take a nap. I'm ready to go take a nap. The body diminishes big time. I think about the inferior faculties of my understanding as this body diminishes. And it does. I can't think as quickly or as clearly as I did. Try learning a foreign language at the age of 70 versus a little kid at the age of 5. Solomon is going through great detail to show us, listen, while you have that vitality, do something with it. Don't get to the end of life when you when you minimize the maximums that you can do for him. Do it now. Do it today. Be busy for him. I think about the inferior faculties of my understanding. I think about my mind and my judgment, how it is not what it was even 10 years ago. I think about my will to do something and give it all I have to get something accomplished. And I got to tell you, it's lessened today. I think about the desires physically. They are all greatly impaired with age. And Solomon is imploring young people. He's imploring them, remember God. Build those habits of serving him and doing all that you can for him today. Make sure that he is preeminent in your life. In other words, Grant preached it on Wednesday night. In other words, seek joy in your life now. And you're only going to have that by serving and living for him. That is where we find true happiness and contentment and peace. And again, as Grant said, joy and happiness, different words, but when you have real joy, you'll be a happy individual. Remember thy Creator. I thought about that word remembering. It seems like a word that we just know. We just know and understand what it is, but I really dug into what remembering really means in this context, and it's so much deeper than we can even begin to imagine. It means to retain what you know, retaining God in all your thoughts, in the ambitions that you have in life, and the things that you want to accomplish in life. Retain and remember him. Make sure he is a part of those ambitions of life. It means to memorize. Memorize what you know. Memorize the things about God Almighty who will guide and direct our lives. It means to identify. Remembering means to identify. Identify with him. I have known so many Christians in my life who have not chosen to identify where others know who they belong to. At my work, after being there a couple of decades, they were going to give something for longevity there, and they didn't know what to get me for being there so long, because I don't tell them a lot about my personal life. I keep my personal life separate. But one thing they do know, they know I'm a Christian. And in HR, they were calling, one of the persons in HR knows Kim, my sister. And they called and says, we don't have any idea what he likes. And she said, well, he likes basketball. And he's at church all the time. And HR said, yeah, we know that. We can't get Jesus to come. And I thank the Lord that there is an identity with Jesus Christ. Joshua, identify with your Creator. Spencer, as you start adulthood, identify with him. Make sure there's no mistake that you're remembering your Creator. It also means to reminisce. Remembering means to reminisce. Think about all that he has done for you. If we retain him, if we memorize the things about him, if we identify and reminisce, as we begin to explore life and look for those things that we desire to do in life, we will remember him and we will find a life full of joy in our life versus living a life for self, where we think we are appeasing self and we're really falling into a hole of discontentment. Remember thy Creator in thy youth. Remember that. Solomon is underlining the inevitability of the problems of old age. But he's also being a little more emphatic in this statement as I dive into really understanding what he's saying. This is additionally what he's saying in these two verses. Get started now with doing what is right in life, period. Start now. Do not wait until you're old. Well, I'm going to go sow my wild oats, and I've heard people say this. And when I get older, no, when you get older, physically, you're going to be diminished in life. Do not delay. Think upon thy Creator. Think about Him. Live life the right way when you're young. I think those that are over 50 here would agree with this. When I've seen many people in life put God aside and have wrecked their life. Wrecked their life. Live life right when you're young. Make the right decisions in life, Rachel. The right decisions in life. Austin, the right decisions in life when you're young. Set your habits for life. I'm going to tell you some habits that I have in life. And these all started when I was young. Started going to church young. My grandmother would make us go to church. And you know what? I cannot stand to miss church today. I don't think it's because I'm a great guy. I think it's because the habit was started young in life. Another habit that I have, sports. Oh, I want to break this habit so bad sometimes. I've tempered it some over the years, Matt, but it's a habit that I started. I can remember as a 5-year-old boy, we used to get something that was thrown on the front porch every day, guys, and it's called a newspaper. And I would get the newspaper as a 5-year-old, and I would throw the front section away and that other section, and I would find the sports section, and I would open it up, and I would look to see what the St. Louis Cardinals were doing and who got a hit and who didn't. Early in life, I started a habit. There are some other habits that I have. My grandmother, she would give us a quarter a week. A quarter. Like, wow, that was a lot of money. Jeff, you owe 2.5 cents to God. How do I do that? She said, just give him 3 cents. Remember thy Creator in your youth. I had another habit. Since I can remember, I've been a vivacious reader, love to read. Read all the time. I would just sit down, read. To this day, I do that. Not necessarily now because I like to read. I think it's a habit. I just do it. You are creating habits in life right now. Every one of us. Make sure they're the habits that will help you remember thy Creator. He is certainly not saying here, throughout the entire book, where he talks about us going out and basically finding the things that you're going to have joy and contentment about. He's not saying live a life of party and for tomorrow you may die. He's saying live life the right way. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know that. But live life the right way. Enjoy life. Love life because you're living it rightly. You're doing the right things. You want to mess up in life? You want to do what you want? You will not enjoy life. All of you know Kim. All of you probably know her story. She didn't live life. Not this Kim. My sister. It'll be very clear. My sister Kim. She didn't enjoy life. She thought she was. Until the day that she realized that she had a $1,000 a day cocaine habit. $1,000 a day. Where do you even get that at? Exactly. Where do you get it at? In your youth, live life the right way. Enjoy life because you're living it right. Enjoy your relationship with your Creator. Work to have a relationship with your Creator. Desire to build a relationship with God Almighty. Enjoy your family. I love seeing the Tanners here. I love that. That is what life is supposed to be about. Coming together because a great event is happening for one of theirs. Enjoy life. Start doing that young. I guarantee you this, he is learning from this. When he is the grandfather, he is going to push for this with his kids and his grandkids. The habits of enjoying family. That's what he's saying here as well. Enjoy your spouse. Love your spouse. Love your children. And enjoy your friends. And remember, enjoy life. And remember what life is really all about. In America, we've messed it up. We've talked about that. You and I have talked about it. We've messed it up. We think it's about succeeding in a career. We think you name whatever it is. We think it's about having the biggest bank account. It isn't. Remember thy Creator. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let's read verse 3 through 5. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the window be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the birds, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. What is he talking about there? What in the world is he talking about? Does anybody have any idea? Huh? He's talking about old folks and eventually dying. That's exactly right. You just look at the keepers of the house. What is the house here? Remember, he's using metaphors here. Do you know what the keeper of the house is? The house is this clay body that we have. Do you know what the keepers of the house is? Ma'am? You are a smart woman. That's exactly the arms and the hands. What do we use to keep this body fed? What do we use to clean this body? It's the keeper of the house is exactly what he says. And the strong men shall bow themselves. The strong men that holds this body up will bow themselves at some point in life. I got to tell you, I was 44 years and 9 months. And I remember it because of this. I was up here and I was walking down here and I thought, oh, man, my legs hurt. You know what? I thought my legs are giving out. So that next night, I went home and I got some running shoes and I said, I'm going to go out and start running. Because these legs are letting me down. And I started running that next night. And I made it from about the front of the church to the back of the church. I was done. The next night, went out and did it again. Until 3 months later, I ran a half marathon in Nashville. In 3 months. As old age comes, these strong men to bow. They can't hold up the weight of our body. That's what he's saying. You think about it. Do y'all remember seeing pictures of when the first man, a cosmonaut in Russia, went to space, and when he landed, do you know when he got out, he couldn't walk because of not having any exercise with his legs. It's what happens with us old folks. I can feel it today, just standing up here. The strong man is giving out. It is giving out. All these areas he's talking about this is what comes on with old age. Young folks, Jackie, this is coming to you and you. The things I've described about my body, it's going to happen to all of you. Spencer, 18, just out of high school, graduated in life. You live long enough, the body's going to let you down. Serve him now. Maximize your maximum potential now, is what he's saying. Verse 3 continues, and the grinders cease because they are few. What's the grinders? Because they're few. Do you see what Solomon's doing here? And those that look out, the next part of verse 3, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, the eyes. Even people that have had good eyesight all of their life, they reach a certain age and the eyes become dim. Now, I didn't have that blessing. At 13, I had to get glasses and had to have surgery so that I don't have to have glasses today other than when I read. Solomon is describing very clearly the degradation of the physical. Don't pass it up. Don't ignore it. Realize what you have today. Keturah, you have a blessing from God today. The physical strength that you have. Use it for Him. It will happen to you. The next verse, part of the verse. And the doors shall be shut in the streets. Literally, old folks being shut in their house. I got to tell you, as a young person, I was ready to go. To do what? Didn't matter. I was just ready to go and go do. I was living in Alaska before I met Linda. I was 20 years old, and some guys wanted to climb a mountain. Let's go. We did. Went and climbed a mountain. Now today, 90% of the time, if you want to find me, I'm in the house. I don't want to do anything. I want to do nothing. That's part of old age. Brother Mike, we're going to the Congo. Who wants to go? I do, but I can't. I just can't. Remember thy Creator in thy youth. Let Him be in first place and not yourself. Verse 4 continues, and when the sound of the grinding is low, the appetite's leaving. 4 continues, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. What is he talking about? Anything will wake you up in the morning, let me tell you. I know. Hear a sound, wide awake. Linda and I laugh at each other sometimes regarding sleep. Matter of fact, last night, we worked and were busy yesterday. And it was 8 o'clock. And I said, Linda, I'm not ashamed. Let's go to bed. Not ashamed at all. Old people can do that. It's a different time of life. And Solomon's telling us all about the old folks and the things they go through so that you young folks hear that and you know it. And you take advantage of what you have today. Give it all you have. Spend your energy, your vitality, all that you have for Him now, because there's coming a day when you can't. The preacher asked me to teach on finances at this past singles conference. I said, preacher, I can't. I just don't have any time. I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm doing this and this. I don't have any time. As a young guy, I'd have just stayed up later and studied. I can't keep my eyes open now at a certain time of night. It just goes to sleep. I hope y'all are understanding what I'm trying to convey. Next, he says in verse 4, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Everybody has seen us saying, what did he say? What did he say? Belle is singing. I love Belle singing. Love Belle singing. And I thank the Lord they got these new things right here, because I would listen intently, but I couldn't hear all the time the beautiful melody that you are making. There are a lot of deficiencies in old age, and a lot of things we can't do like we could at a younger age. Do it now while you're young. These metaphoric expressions of the impending weakness of each of us is almost certain. I can only find 2 times in the Bible where it wasn't certain. Does anybody know any of those? Caleb, when he was 85, he says, I'm just as strong as when I was 40. And Moses, whose natural force abated not at 120. Those are unique, and I think people that God used for a purpose in a particular way. I don't think we're going to have a Moses and a Caleb here. Just don't think we are. Use what you have today. Verse number 5, and we'll get through with this one and be done. Also, they shall be afraid of that which is high. Not meaning God Almighty. It's not what that's saying. It's talking about getting up. And I told you a little while ago about climbing a mountain. It was a high mountain. Man, it took us all day in Alaska at 20 years old. I ain't getting out of the car today because I know I will break something. Old people get afraid of that. I can remember her father walking and a pebble on the ground, twisting his ankle. A pebble. It's why old people are afraid. That's why Solomon says that. Old people are afraid of that. And fear shall be in the way. As you get older, you're not as confident. I knew a guy who was a repo guy. He would repo cars. He was a big dude. Phil is a big man. Phil's small compared to Paul. Paul was about 6'5", about 300 pounds, and he was as bold as a lion. When he would go, I used to like talking to him, just hearing his stories. If he had to go repo a car, he'd walk up to somebody, give me your keys. He said, as he got older, he said, I got scared. He said, I knew when I started getting scared, I had to stop. Why did that happen? Age. Solomon is hammering this, young folks. He is hammering this. Take advantage of what you have. Use it. And the almond tree shall flourish. I loved this one. Have anybody ever seen an almond tree in bloom? It's white. It shall flourish. The very first time I realized I was getting gray hair, and I realized I'm getting old. Me and Linda, our kids, Kim, and her husband and her kids, we were at an amusement park in Nashville. I don't think they have it open anymore, Opryland. Kim was behind me in the line. She started screaming, "Ah, Jeff, you have gray hair." At the time, I know can't visualize this, but I had blonde hair at the time. There were some streaks of gray, and I realized I'm getting old. It's going to happen to you too, Jackie. And the grasshopper shall be a burden, the verse continues. That which is light is going to be a heavy burden on the old folks. I cannot take the stress that I could 15 years ago. I can't. I don't even try anymore. I think that's why old people become very pointed in what they say. At work, man, they just know if they ask, I'm going to tell them because I don't want the stress. Do not want it. And desire shall fail. The appetite, bodily pleasures. The verse continues, because man goeth to his long home. Do you know where the ultimate end is for this physical body? The grave, the long home. Unless the Lord comes back, that's where every one of us will reside. Every one of us. Do all that you can for Him now. And be able to go to the Congo if He so calls you. Life is quick. Life ends fast. In my mind, I still think I'm 30 till I try to do something. You understand, Eugene? He's given you an opportunity to live for Him and serve Him. Do it with all you have. We're dismissed.